Hey, today we're going to talk about All the Old Knives, which is coming out on Prime Video on April 8th, 2022. We had the privilege of previewing the movie, and we're going to talk about that today. Hi, this is Dan Silvestri.
Tom Pizzato.
I'm Vicky Hodges.
Of SpyMovieNavigator.com. Here we go.
All right, so let's go ahead and start off with a conversation of what we can say and what we can't say.
Yeah.
We're putting this out before the movie releases.
Yeah, so we don't want this to be full of spoilers. We're going to avoid spoilers as much as we can. Now, we just recorded a session with the director of the film, Janis Metz, and the screenwriter of the film, Olin Steinhauer, who is also the author of the book on which this film is based. So, there you go. So, that's already out. Our interview episode is out on them 2 days ago. So,
and I was able to get the book at Barnes & Noble, just so that, you know, the book's out too.
And I got it electronically, so you can get that through Kindle or Nook or whatever. It's a great book. All the Old Knives. All right, so here we go. No spoilers here.
Well, yeah, as much as we can. Right.
Yeah.
So how do you do an overview of the story without getting into spoilers?
All right, first of all, I think one thing we could look at immediately, this is not a James Bond movie, a Mission Impossible movie. This is not about stunts and action. This is, to me, it was more like a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy kind of thriller where it's real espionage stuff going on and not the big stuff. But that being said, the focus on that here is tremendous. And I would say within the first 30 seconds of the movie, we're dragged into it and we're wondering what's going on. So that part I loved. It's like, okay, I got to watch the rest of this now and see what this is all about.
Well, and that first 45 seconds just really grabs you.
Yeah.
It's, if you have read the book and are going to be watching the movie, this isn't really spoiling anything. There's a hijacking. It's the first 45 seconds of the movie. How can I spoil it? And that's later in the book that you really hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of talk about that something happened, but they don't really get into it. But they do in the first 45 seconds. And to me, that was just such a great grab of the viewer's attention.
Yeah. What did you think, Vicky?
For me, it was a real impactful start. You were just drawn into what's going on. How does this fit? Yeah. I just think it was a great way to start a film.
Yeah.
A movie.
So think about the genre of spy films, but the section of that, the subsection, the slice of that is more like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, or like we said, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah, it's not an action movie. It's a spy.
Definitely. It's a spy movie.
Yeah.
It's an espionage spy movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if you think about what, like, some of our favorite, when you ask me, Dan, what one of my favorite Bonds is, I'm always going back to From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Which isn't a big action movie. It's a spy movie.
Yeah.
And this is not an action movie. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's throughout the film, you're piecing together the facts, like you're trying to piece together the facts as they are piecing together the facts.
Yes.
It is very much a conversational film. It's not a Bond film, as we know. It's not big set pieces. It very much is, as you say, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but more modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of all takes place in fundamentally a single location. Now, there are cutouts and flashbacks to other locations and so on, and that's how they're worked into the movie, but it's primarily happening in one place, and you're wondering what is happening in the beginning, and you're wondering why it's happening in the beginning, and you're wondering who these people are who are sitting at the table, and what is their relationship to each other, and that unfolds. And it unfolds, as the director said in our conversation with him, that, hey, it's about a love story, but it's not it's a failed love story. And he said that. And so now you're seeing these pieces coming out in the conversation, but you know that both of these characters in the beginning who are sitting at a table, and that's Chris Pine, who's playing Henry Pelham, and Thandaway Newton, who is playing Celia Harrison. We know they're both either ex-CIA or current CIA people. Okay. Now what? Now what's the relationship, and what are they talking about?
Well, and you mentioned the table. All right. Yeah. So in different places, and then in our conversation with the author, Olin Steinhauer, he was talking about how there was a movie he saw that was based on a poem called The Song of Lunch. Yes. And that's a movie with Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson. And it's only 50 minutes long. You can see that on Amazon Prime. And it is mainly two people at a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And the conversation there. And Olin was like, how do we make a spy movie out of two people at a restaurant? Now, it's not just two people at a restaurant. There's flashbacks to other things that are happening, things happening around them. But it's really an intriguing way to film this thing, because the conversation in the restaurant ends up being really the focal point of it all.
Yeah.
It's compelling. When we first see that conversation, it's all very matter of fact and all very nicey. But as it continues throughout the film, the shift in tone changes through the maybe alcohol. The tongues get a bit looser, and we see a completely different sort of conversation between the two protagonists.
Yes. If you do know The Song of Lunch, one of the characters gets really trashed. That doesn't happen in this one.
Yeah. Now that's about a 50-minute movie, right? That's available also on Prime.
So you have the two main characters are Henry Pelham and Celia, but let's talk a little bit about the cast of this thing.
Yeah.
Because they have this conversation that they have at the table and recalling things as they're going through it. But then this cast is just amazing. You have Lawrence Fishburne, who, I mean, he's going to play a boss, because he does that really, really well. We've seen him do that in, Mission Impossible movies. We've seen him do it in, a whole bunch of different things.
He fills the room.
He fills the room. He's so commanding. Mm-hmm. And what I liked about his character in here was that he was the take charge kind of guy, but he was also a spy. Yep. We can't let other people know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really intriguing, but that actually gets them in trouble a little bit, because they try to keep it so close to the vest with what happens as the plot of the story without giving it away.
Yeah. So all of the characters are terrific. And of course we have Jonathan Pryce in the movie playing Bill Compton. And he is just awesome. His facial expressions and the delivery of his lines is just terrific. And I mean, you know this character just from the first time you see him. You kind of know all about him just by his terrific acting, I think. Just great.
No, and he's good everything I've ever seen him in. Yeah. The guy's just really, I mean, those four names are just really top. And then you get the supporting cast.
Yeah. Right.
So you've got, the guy who plays Carl Stein, which is a character in the thing, is Corey Johnson. We just saw him in the Ipcress Files TV series.
Yes.
And plays a different character here, but plays it very well. And then, the rest of the supporting cast is very good as well. I mean, you got David Dawson playing this character, Owen Lasseter, who's not a very big role, but plays actually an important role in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite an impactful role. Yeah.
So, anything else about the cast that you guys want to hit?
I think we need to talk about the two leads, because I think that the chemistry between Chris Pine and Thwandy Newton is extraordinary. I'll be honest, I've been watching 3 Days of Condor recently, and at the same sort of time, actually. Hadn't seen it before, and I thought the relationship in that film to the relationship in this film completely, I know it's an old film from 1975, but I didn't believe that relationship. I believed this one. Completely.
Well, but that relationship, that was Robert Redford and Faye Dunaway.
Yes.
That was a forced relationship.
It was very odd.
Yeah, I mean, but
I didn't. That for me, that didn't. I liked the film, but I didn't like that part.
Okay. Well, see, I actually thought that worked because they were thrown together in a weird way. Where
was weird.
Here, these are two work colleagues that kind of fall in love.
Had a very intense relationship, and you believed every step, everything that was said, you believed it, and the emotion from them, it was just really compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're listening to them talk, and you're trying to understand what each of them is saying, and you're trying to figure out what they're saying and why they're saying it. Not that it's complicated with the words. It's just that now you're intrigued so much that you're just looking at them and listening to them and watching their faces as though you're kind of overhearing a conversation and you want to know what's going on. And that's how this is. We're kind of like there listening and and
it feels natural.
Yeah, it feels natural and it's compelling. It's just compelling.
Yeah, and when you watch this movie, you've got to really pay attention to what they say at that dinner table at the restaurant.
You have to pay attention to the entire movie. I mean, there's no slacking off watching the movie because you're not waiting for a stunt to happen. You're not waiting for an explosion. You have to listen to what everyone is saying because there's complex relationships going on throughout the movie, but understandable relationships and meaningful relationships that underlie everything that's happening in the movie without saying what's happening. And again, it's a beautiful setting in the beginning in this restaurant. It's in Carmel by the Sea in California, a beautiful town. It's the restaurant is overlooking an ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And it's in the beginning a beautiful setting. And then you watch as things unfold and it grabs you and you want to know what's going to happen now. You almost want to fast forward. It's like, I want to know what's happening.
Yeah, but if you fast forward, you're going to miss.
You're going to miss everything and not understand a damn thing. But
you were talking about facial expressions. One of the things I really liked about it is when you first watch the film and you see events unfold, and you see everyone sort of looking at everybody else, and they have these expressions on the face, and you think it's for that one thing. But as events unfold, and we see that. Because it's a film that loves shifting timelines, doesn't it? And we go backwards and forwards.
Constantly.
And when we see the same scene again, the reactions, the facial expressions mean something totally different to what you first thought.
Yeah. Which perspective are you watching?
Absolutely loved that about it.
Yeah, the concept of the flashbacks is, I mean, we've seen flashbacks in a million movies, but this is rapid fire flashbacks that boom, it shoots out to a flashback and bam, it's back to the table. And so you're wondering whose perspective is this of the flashback and what is happening in the flashback and what does that have to do with what they're talking about at the table? And all of these pieces start coming together. And when you start getting that, it's like a puzzle. When you start getting the pieces together, and you start thinking, oh, I'm getting this. It's damn good. Damn good.
It is, It's.
Well, and in the novel, he wrote it where here's Henry's perspective, and then here's Celia's perspective. And the chapters were labeled that way.
Yeah, right.
So these flashbacks, they occur, and some of them you don't know which perspective you're watching. Yeah. And you've got to put it together, which is really, really cool for the audience member. Yeah. There were actually a couple other actors I wanted to call out here too, because they had very important roles. But here in the U.S., we don't see them as much. We had Nasser Mamarzi, who played Muhammad, and then you had Orly Shuka, who played Ilyas, and those guys had very important roles.
Yeah.
Not huge roles, but very important to the plot of this story, and especially when you think about the perspectives. And again, that's going to make sense when you watch it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed their work on this too.
Yeah, there's some terrific dialogue. We have a unique thing here with the author of the novel, also being the screenwriter. And so in our conversation with him, we talk about that a little bit. You'll have to listen to that one for that. But it's an interesting perspective because he brings a different element to the screenwriting that you would not normally have, because this is the author of the novel. So it's happened before with a few authors, but it's not very common that an author of a novel will be the screenwriter for the movie version of the novel. So that part was interesting, and I think it plays an interesting role here because he did a phenomenal job on this. And this was, I believe he said, his first complete screenwriting that he's done. And he just did a terrific job. And the director also loved what he did with the screenplay. And that was, he said it kind of made it easier for him as a director because he narrowed down the book to the screenplay, which is a very difficult thing to do. And that's what they were talking about too, the challenge of bringing down a novel to a screenplay and cutting out. And that's what Olin Steinhauer was talking about, was that how difficult that is, because you've written all these words in the book, and now you've got to scrunch it down to the screenplay. And so how that all unfolds is just terrific. And the director loved the screenplay. In fact, he said that Chris Pine commented that it was one of the best 3 screenplays he's ever read. So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, see, and what I liked about the novel and the author of the novel writing the screenplay. So when you write the novel, you've got to use more words, more descriptive words that you can visually show in a movie. But I felt like we still got some of that with the dialogue. To me, it felt like I was watching a novel. As we've said, it's not an action movie. But if you think about The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, Tinker Tailor, From Russia with Love, the early Bond stuff were all based on the novel. Where they got in trouble was when they didn't have any novels to work with anymore. And then you think about, in my opinion, Daniel Craig's best was Casino Royale, which was based on the book.
And the other thing that you're saying, Tom, too, and I agree, I think that not only the dialogue brings out a lot of what happens in the book, but the facial expressions and that visual element, the old saying that a picture's worth 1,000 words, those are the 1,000 words you could skip when you're writing the screenplay, right? Because now you're looking at the visual, the facial expressions, the responses that they have, the bodily action, the surroundings, and so on, and that takes a lot of the words away and just shows you.
All right, let's shift gears now and talk about the production quality itself of, how it was shot. How, we've talked about the flashbacks part, but let's talk about the, lighting, sound, that kind of stuff. What you guys thought there?
I picked up on the use of shadow, which I think highlighted the mystery, the intrigue of the story, particularly towards the end. If I'm okay to mention it, there's a bedroom scene, and Chris Pine moves out from the light into the shadow to leave for the room, and then also I never know how to say this. Thwandi? Is it Thwandi? Thandiwe Newton. She follows him, and part of her face is part shadow, but her eyes are in light, and I felt that was a purposely done. In terms of the story, things are unfolding and coming into the light. I really did think that the use of a shadow and the use of the lighting reflected what was going on in the story. Great.
So I don't want to give it away.
Good.
I want you to listen to our interview with the director and the way he talked about the lighting in the restaurant.
Yes.
And if you listen to the interview before you see the movie, you will absolutely jump all over what he says about that.
Yeah.
If you watch that the first time you watch it, you might not catch what they did with the lighting. But it was really, really cool. So, Vicky, you weren't on that call today. When you listen to that, you're going to go, oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
we talked a little bit about that with them too, and it's. I mean, this goes into every movie, right? The lighting, the camera angles, the color palette of everything that's going on, the sound effects, and so on. And all of this is done tremendously well in this movie. Just great stuff.
One thing I picked up on in the restaurant was when you first see the couple at the table, the camera is farther away. But as we get into the intensity of the conversation and as it progresses, you're almost up their nose. It's like, it's so close. We're just, it's drawing the viewer in. Just subtle things like that make a massive difference.
Yeah,
the way they filmed that restaurant scene to me was just phenomenal.
Yeah, the whole restaurant scene is great. You'll notice the scene of the restaurant. It makes sense. It looks real. It looks like, yeah, okay. I believe that's a restaurant overlooking the ocean, and the sun is setting, and there's all kinds of beautiful things going on out there. And the restaurant is. You'll notice the name of the restaurant, Vin de Vie, and they show that on the wall a little bit as he's coming in. And when he comes in, we didn't talk to the director and the screenwriter.
We didn't talk to Giannis Nolan about it.
But we both Tom and I noticed, and you probably did, Vicky, too. When he comes up to the bar, when he comes in, he asks for a particular kind of drink. And we
I have that written down here.
And we all thought, okay.
I actually went when he said it.
I know. That was a great scene because we're all thinking that. We're not going to say what the drink is because you're gonna see it. We're all thinking that, but then of course that's not available. And the response of the bartender and the clinking of the glass onto the marble bar. I thought really, I mean that was a great sound, and kind of stood for a lot of stuff that was going to be happening. That clink of the glass on there. So,
well, and to me it was intriguing that in the novel, which came out first, the base of the drink that he ordered was different.
Yes.
Then when they made it into a movie, they changed it to what they did, and I think really it was more of a callback than anything.
Yeah. So that part was great. But you're right. The lighting and the sets, really, they did some on location shooting, but a lot of it was the restaurant, and of course the other stuff. The flashbacks and so on didn't necessarily have to be on location anywhere. It could have been studio stuff. They talk about that in our interview with them. You can take a listen to that. But all of that fit together so well and that orchestrated so well that you're watching this thing and you never really feel that you're missing these elements fitting together, but you are in your mind going, what the hell is going on here? Because they are not going to let you figure it out. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, Vicky, I've got a question for you as a Brit. Is the pub scene, and then there's a scene where Jonathan Pryce's character Bill is outside talking on his phone, and it's raining, and he's standing by what is really a printing company, but it didn't really matter. Just the look of it with like a walkway behind him. Did that feel like London to you?
Yeah, I suppose it does. He hates London. I believe he doesn't like London. If I'm correct, I heard that correctly.
Yeah, Bill wasn't.
He's not keen on London. Yeah,
right.
His wife made him go there.
I think so. I mean, you don't see too much of. They don't make a thing of it too much, do they? It's again close quarters inside the pub. And then you have that little bit outside. So I did not believe that it wasn't.
Okay. Well, it was.
It was.
It was done in London. So
okay, well, that's good then.
That part.
I didn't believe it wasn't.
So
didn't look like
he said that was one of the few things they did that was actually not just on the set.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah.
and he talks about that pub setup in the thing, but I just that scene, and when they cut to that shot of him standing underneath the walkway there, I'm like, wow, that really is a great establishing shot. And I didn't know if that corner was like a famous, the intersection there with the walkway and that place on Carey Street was a famous London thing or not. Not living there, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not totally sure because of not actually coming from London, but
Right.
somebody can correct us, no doubt. But yeah.
Even the camera angles there of that scene, and you're talking about when he's on the phone and when he's in the pub. I mean, you really kind of feel like you're there overhearing them, which doesn't happen all the time in movies. It doesn't happen. There's sometimes that gap. But here you're kind of thinking like you're in the pub and you're kind of listening and you're like, oh, what's he talking about there?
Well,
yeah,
and this.
I like.
Go ahead, Vicky.
I was going to say it's like you're sitting at the table with them.
Yeah.
Or
in
next
the conversation,
but
or
not
whatever,
actually speaking, but you're there in the conversation.
Yeah, I felt like I was listening and I wasn't supposed to be. It's kind of
and the thing for me was, tell me when you saw that, if you watched that with your eyes closed, give me another actor who would have been Bill in that scene.
Yeah, he was terrific.
I mean, that was just
Jonathan
perfect for Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
So, big fan there.
Okay, I personally think he's a very underrated actor.
Yeah.
For the many things that he's done over the years.
Well, the first time I remember him was in the David Mamet movie, Glengarry Glen Ross. And I think he was in Evita.
I love that film.
Yeah, so
I love that film.
Yeah, and they were happy. They were thrilled to have Jonathan Pryce in the movie. Yeah. And they said that hey, this is a perfect role for him, and he does a terrific job. He's not in it a lot, but he's in it enough, and and when he is, he owns the scene. He's like
that's true. Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of interesting because there is a scene where he's in it and Lawrence Fishburne's in it. And it's like, which one do you look at?
Yeah. And two different kinds of characters, obviously, that they're playing, and so they could both command, I think, at the same time, that kind of attention where you're, man, because they each have something very important to contribute to the story. And
what did you guys think of the sound in it, both in the score and the way they used sound?
I like the subtle sounds. I like the table sounds. I like the background sounds. The bathroom scene, there's a couple of scenes from the bathroom. All of those fit together well in terms of creating this picture and this image and scenario. Like I said, the glass clinking on the marble bar.
It's very minimal in terms of it's more a sound of objects, isn't it? More so than
backgrounds.
There is a little underlying score to help create the attention, though.
But it's not like a big grand sort of soundtrack.
No, you're not walking away humming any songs.
No.
Dan, you're talking about the glass on the marble.
Yeah.
When the two of them are at the dinner and they kind of clink glasses, toasting each other, hey, good to see you again, kind of a thing. The sound there, but then it also, that scene, the start of with the clinking of the glasses like that, and the conversation they have there starts out almost exactly like the Song of Lunch.
Okay.
But within 3 seconds deviates quickly. Yeah. But the way they click and there's the kind of lame toast that happens there, I thought that was just because I watched the Song of Lunch after I watched this and I'm like, wow. That was pretty cool because he said it was inspiration. He didn't steal it. It was like inspiration. And then he took it a different direction, which was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about the lighting. We've talked about the sound, talked about the acting.
Can I mention Chris Pine's look because it changes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We see the character at 3 different points within a timeline. what are your thoughts on how he looked? Was it believable that he'd aged? Well, of course, yeah. But in terms of how they made him up to look at that point, did we think that was believable, fairly believable?
I actually thought, how did they do that? Because when they did the flashbacks when he was much younger, he looked much younger, and I was thinking, did they do that with computer graphic interface stuff? Or
well, the hair was done differently. Yeah. There was no gray in the hair.
I thought it was great. I thought those elements worked extremely well, and I never for a second thought, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, he looks the same. No, I thought they did.
Yeah, see, I thought the younger hair was a little overdone, but I think they really were trying to say, okay, this is this time period versus what he looks like at the restaurant when he's 8-9 years older than the other.
And then there was another one in between, wasn't there, where he got much shorter hair?
Right.
Sort of. Okay. It was just.
So what would you think there, Vicky? You asked us. You didn't tell us.
I'm with you. I felt that the younger look was probably a little bit too much, a little bit too done, but I don't think it was anything too distracting from what was happening on screen because it was just so well acted.
Yeah. See, I think part of that though was they had to be very distinct with the three different books.
They had to. Yeah.
Well, they had to, but he's also a CIA operative. And so we don't know what kind of cover he was under at that particular time when he was younger. Maybe he had to have longer hair. So I give him a carte blanche on that. I was like, that's fine. I don't have a problem.
Yeah. See, now how about Watanabe? Because for me, she can look very, very. I was surprised how old they could make her look.
Yeah. She looked old in the modern section when they're in the restaurant. She looks much older than she did in the flashbacks and so on. And so that was well done as well. I thought, hey, that's pretty good how they did that.
Yep. Now, one thing I would think we should warn the viewers of is there is some sex and nudity in here. So if depending on these things don't get the ratings as much on, you don't notice
those. You can't see it for 2 more days. Sorry. But so there is some sex and nudity in this that part of this is a love story, so there's some of that. And I know lately in movies you don't get that much of that, but it's here in this one. Yeah.
So just kind of a heads up on that.
But it fits in to the movie. It doesn't stand out as they're throwing this in to have it. It fits in naturally with the movie, I think. And
absolutely. It fits in the plot perfectly.
Yeah, so you don't ever think, well, that was superfluous or whatever. No.
Yeah. Now, Dan, you probably caught this, Vicky. I don't know if you did.
Yeah.
But did you catch what Henry's code name was?
Yes. And really,
where have we seen it or heard it before?
It's a callback to another movie that we saw that came out in the 60s. His code name was Piccolo in this film. Now,
and that was the code name of who?
That was the code name in the Harry Palmer movie $1 Billion Brain of Leo, the main character played by Carl Malden. He was great in that. Carl Malden was great. So we got Piccolo in this, and of course the code name of another guy in All the Old Knives is Treble. You have in $1 Billion Brain a lot of code names, but they're all musical, and here we see the same kind of thing. So I think that was a callback to the Harry Palmer film $1 Billion Brain. That was cool.
Yeah, I forgot to ask those guys earlier today. When on the interview we did.
Yeah, they would have been shocked if we said that.
So let's kind of go around and overall thoughts, yay, nay. People should watch it. People should say no. If you can see it in the theater, should you do that? Because it's going to be a limited theater release. What are your thoughts? Vicky, why don't we start with you?
I think watch it. Concentrate, because if you lose concentration, you will just lose what's going on. You need to focus on the plot. I'm going to be watching this again when it's released on on the 8th with my husband, who is one for not listening to conversations. He likes action, but he's watching this. I've told him he needs to concentrate, so I'll get his thoughts. Because I've just said to me, it's so well acted. It's just well worth just seeing these, everyone, the whole cast in action.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the writing helps that too, because it's acted, but it's written well to hold you.
Yeah, and if you like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, that type of espionage, then this is the film for you to watch.
Yeah, when we had a conversation with Andrew Bustamante, who was a real CIA covert operator. We have an episode on that, and he talks about real life stuff and how different things are from movies to real life spying. And this is more of the real life spying stuff. So this is an absolute must watch if you like spy movies. And if you like thrillers, you gotta watch this. And the acting is superb. The sets are terrific. Everything about the movie is well done. So yes, watch the movie. Whether you want to go to a theater and watch it, there's going to be limited theater release on April 8th, but it will be on Amazon Prime Video, and it's terrific. We were honored and thrilled to be able to preview the movie before it came out, and so that's why we can do this episode ahead of time, and to be able to talk to the director and the screenwriter was terrific. So absolutely see this movie. There's no question about it. It's a must-see.
Yes, I've seen it 3 times. Yeah. And each time, I watched it again last night, and each time I watched it, I picked up more stuff. Yeah, and that's even knowing the ending. Yeah. Right. It was like, oh, that's how they got there. I missed that the first time through. So I really liked it. And unlike Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which to me, I don't honestly know that I've ever gotten through without falling asleep. This thing captured me. Right. Spy Who Came In From the Cold, love that one. That captured me. This one captured me. Yeah. And I think it got me from the beginning with the way they did the opening scene.
Everyone says you're on the edge of your seat or this or that movie and that kind of thing. You kind of are on the edge of your seat with this movie and wondering what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds. You don't know what's going to happen the entire way.
Without having to wonder, is the thing that's going to happen, is this person's going to jump from building A to building B, and are they going to make it? This is more a plot story, which is very cool.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, the last time I watched a movie that felt like this for me, in edge of seat and just how things evolve and the reaction to it all, is, again, another oldish film, No Way Out. Kevin Costner, 1987.
Yeah.
And the way that plays out, for me, similar. Not in story, but edge of your seat, twists and turns. Just fab. Go see it. Go watch it.
So it sounds to me like the Spy Movie Navigator's comment on this is, go watch this movie.
Yeah, I think you get 6 thumbs up here.
Yes.
Great job by the entire crew and cast, and a thrill to watch, literally. So go see or watch it on Amazon Prime. All the old knives. If you like it, take a listen to our discussion with the director and the writer. We don't go into the plot with them. We talk all about the making of the movie. Yeah, that was terrific. And when you watch the movie, then go look up this quote. All the old knives that have rusted in my back, I drive in yours. It's from Phaedrus. Plato. Go see the movie first. Wow. That's where we're going to leave you. This has been Dan Silvestri, Tom Pizzato, and Vicky Hodges of SpyMovieNavigator.com. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram too. We appreciate you listening. Thanks.